love pursuing every heart until it knows love's transforming, healing goodness, love's abiding, gentle grace, love's endurance, love's assurance, love's consoling, strong embrace. Love receiving, love believing, we rejoice with thanks and song. Faith regaining, hope proclaiming, love has taught us we belong. Safe within love's tender keeping, safe from fear's persistent calm. Love defending, love unending, love of God enrolling all.
Lord, Lord, open unto me. Open unto me light for my darkness. Open unto me courage for my fear. Open unto me hope for my despair. Open unto me peace for my turmoil. Open unto me joy for my sorrow. Open unto me strength for my weakness. Open unto me wisdom for my confusion. Open unto me forgiveness for my sins. Open unto me tenderness for my toughness. Open unto me love for my hates. Open unto me thyself for myself. Lord, Lord, open unto me.
Our flourish language. Flourish, alone together. We practice wholehearted life alone and together. Evergreen is an open and affirming faith community rooted in the way of Jesus. We grow through spiritual practices that nourish the individual and cultivate a more compassionate world. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Where is everybody? Where are they? Roll call. We start doing roll calls.
You need to come on. It's okay.
Say hi, Mr. Clay.
Matthew. I know I've seen Miss Betty.
I'm muted.
Is Miss Sylvia anywhere?
Hi, Mr. Corey.
Hey, Betty.
Hi.
Hey, Sylvia. I miss y'all so much. I miss y'all, man. How have y'all been?
Great.
Great.
No, I don't want to be on camera.
Y'all. So listen, has it ever been a time that you laughed so hard that your belly started to hurt?
Not on camera.
No.
I hope so.
Or have you laughed so hard that you made your whole body shake? Yeah, I do it all the time. I'm myself all the time. So,
My belly hurt.
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. So I actually have this story about this older woman named Sarah, right? And she laughed so hard that she had something funny in her tummy. So let's see what this funny thing was, okay? Sarah and Abraham, which was her husband, had been traveling a long time. So on a bright afternoon when the sun was hot, they decided to stop and set up their tents. Abraham was sitting under a shade tree when he spotted 3 visitors. So he got up and he ran to greet them. Abraham said, "Come, come, rest in the shade of my tree. I'll bring you water to wash your feet, and I'll even bring you a meal to make you stronger for your journey." The visitors said, "We have a message for your wife, Sarah." So Abraham was like, "Oh my gosh." He ran to her and he said, "Sarah, Sarah, get the best flour we have to make and bake something delicious for our visitors. They have a message for you." Sarah was surprised. Somebody has a message for me. She was so excited. So she got up and she started to knead the dough. Then Abraham ran to the place where they kept all the meat, and he got the best meat he could find and he took it to his servant. He told the servant, "Prepare this meat and make something delicious for our visitors. They have a message for Sarah." So the servant quickly got the fire ready to do all of that. Then Abraham got milk and butter, and when the bread was baked and the meat was cooked, Abraham served his visitors. He let them eat. Sarah, on the other hand, she was inside the tent as the visitors ate. She looked and she peeked her head out and she heard them talking about him. They said, "Where is Sarah?" Abraham replied, "Sarah's right here in the tent." Sarah was just about to poke her head out and say hello when the visitor said, "I'll be back. I'll be back to see you and Sarah in 1 year, and Sarah will have a son." What? That's exactly what was in Sarah's mind. A big old laugh started to come from Sarah's belly, and the visitors heard it. Sarah came out. She said, "Now, how in the world could I have a baby? Do you not know how old I am? Look at my body. I can't have no baby." God spoke through the visitors, though. He said, "Why did you laugh? What if God could make this promise come true? So in 1 year, I'll come back to you and you're going to have this son." And y'all know what happened? Can somebody tell me what happened? Anybody, just guess what happened. You can unmute. Go ahead and say it. Both of y'all, say it.
They had a baby.
She had a baby.
baby.
She had a baby, very old. Surprise, but she still had a baby. God,
Yay!
yeah. So Sarah held her baby very close and she looked in his beautiful face. She said, "God made me laugh and I believe this day would never come. But now you're here. And I'm going to call you Isaac because Isaac, it means laughter. And I want to always remember how God and you made me laugh." Is that all right, y'all? Cool. So before I go, can somebody show me or tell me what Sarah's laugh might have sounded like when she laughed? Go ahead. Betty, how do you think it sounded?
That's not a belly laugh, y'all. Sarah's belly laugh.
I know. What do you think, Miss Sylvia? How do you think her laugh sounded?
Like this, like I feel like
Sylvia's turn.
Is that how her laugh sounded? Well, I think her laugh.
a lot of different laughs.
I think that's how she laughed. All right. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all soon, okay? Love y'all. Y'all have a good week.
See you in the chicken.
See you.
See you in chicken.
See you later, alligator, after wild crocodile.
Sorry, that's just a joke. See you in the chicken.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. We are now at that point in the service where we practice alone and together our practice of silence. And as we have been doing throughout our Lenten silence, there will be images on the screen submitted by your friends and neighbors within the congregation of where they feel at peace in their bodies. And we still invite you to send in those pictures to Latifa if you have pictures you'd like to share during this time. I want to guide you a little bit in our silent meditation today. As we have been talking about loving God and loving our bodies, I want you and I invite you to think about, is there a part of your body that you don't love? A part that you avert your gaze from when you see yourself in the mirror or don't want to think about? I'll start. It's my gut. I don't like it. And so today, in our practice, knowing that silence can disrupt, I want to disrupt any sense of self-hatred towards your body by directing your meditation to it. And when we finish our silence, I simply want you to speak a word of gratitude and thanksgiving for that part of your body and the work it does for and with you. I invite you to place both feet firmly on the floor. I invite you to feel your seat underneath your body. I invite you to drop your shoulders, to unclench your jaw, to let the tongue loose from the roof of your mouth, and to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I will play a tone on the piano to begin our work, and in about a minute, I'll play a tone to bring us out. Let's practice silence alone and together, honoring our entire bodies.
Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Hey, Evergreen. Happy Sunday. My name is Lexus Phillips, and I will be sharing with you today over the question of, are you letting your life speak? As I get my presentation, my PowerPoint, it's just pictures. It won't be that much. I'm going to get that started for you all. I want to say a few thank yous. I would like to say a thank you to Corey, my friend, for bringing me on today to share with you all. I would like to share a thank you to Evergreen for you all as a staff bringing me on and investing in this moment and investing in the questions of how we are letting our lives speak and how we are doing that and moving in our bodies. And I just want to give thanks to this moment for being, and God to this moment for being to share with you all. I'm going to be sharing the word that I have here today, and then I'll be clicking along the screen while I share. To the note of being in your bodies and being comfortable, I open this with the invitation for you to hear this word and receive it as comfortably as works for you. That's however most physically seated that works for you. That's on cam, that's off cam, that's inside, that's outside, that's eating, that's sitting, that's sipping, or just being. I welcome you into this space, even though I'm going to be the one speaking kind of toward you for some time here. I hope that you all feel the invitation to be. Thank you. I hope you all feel that invitation to be, and that I'll be sharing, but I definitely am more of a conversational person. So I hope that this feels like a comfortable conversation to me with you across the screen rather than me speaking to you. Are you letting your life speak? This comes from a book. I hope you can see it here. I'm gonna fix this so I can see it better. This book that is here is Let Your Life Speak by Parker J. Palmer. It is a book that came to me and was brought into my life during a discernment group that I was in a group called Loving the Questions. If any of you are familiar with the Episcopal Church, it was a part of an Episcopal Service Corps service year that I was doing. And it came to me in that time in my life, and it's come around now to the relevance of this sermon and sharing moment. And so I'll get back to that part about how it came into my life and its relevance now. But I like to lead us through with a story time. So here is me. I'm gonna situate the screen so you can see it. That is me, and that is my dad. That is in May of 2017. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I was graduating from Swelman College, and I was very much so smiling in that photo, absolutely 100% in the moment of figuring out where I was going in the world and what was meant to be my purpose, what was meant to be my role. After graduation, all the places I could go and where did I want to be and what did I want to do. And then, as many of us can imagine that feeling when you're transitioning from school and into life and into the world, a lot of folks have those questions. So this is me at graduation. And over that summer, I was here back home in Memphis, where I've been born and raised. And I was in the wrestling, in the tussling, in the figuring out of where I was supposed to be going and what I was supposed to be doing. I specifically, and throughout this narrative, I will name that I think God works in irony and very clear signs in my life that often have a sense of humor. I seem to catch the message the best that way. So I see where God goes with that. In that season, I sat in my car in a park, and I was having a conversation with God between me and my journal. To onlookers, it probably looked like I was talking to myself in my car, which I will name that I do. And so I was telling God that, God, I don't know where I'm supposed to be going and what I'm supposed to be doing. But if you lead me, I will follow. Those are my words. If you lead me, I'll follow. And so with that, God did lead me. And very shortly after, like in that next day after, I received a call from the assistant director of the Episcopal Service Corps program that I had started an application to after like 30 minutes of Googling service years and didn't finish and didn't go back to. They called me, and that dear friend, now Philip Sherwin in my life, called and asked me if I wanted to participate and join this community of 6 folks that would be including me over the course of 1 year. They will provide us housing and food and stipend our living, and we will be committing to serve in faith and community as a part of the name of that program, Lawrence House, in association with All Saints Church, which was the church, the Episcopal Church in Western Massachusetts, not Boston, not the side of Massachusetts that folks know, but for me, middle of nowhere, Western Massachusetts. So I go there, I do, God leads me, and I follow, and I go there. And I began to be a part of Lawrence House, which is most of the folks in the program were in this image here, but some of them aren't. And I joined this community. Those mountains behind us, that was one of my first kind of breathless moments of even being somewhere and seeing something like that and just that vastness of landscape. I joined this community. And we're living into community, we're leaning into community, we are having conversations about race, we're having conversations about gender, around orientation, around class, we're having all of these conversations around all of these things and tussling with them and grappling with them. And I would essentially boil it down to being in the real world, like the Real World TV show on MTV. All we needed was like a room to be able to record the things that we had as our reflections of the experience. And in this season, with those friends that I made here, some of my photos, they cut off on the side, but you get to see the image still. Some of those dear friends are some of the closest folks that I met to me in my life, and are still that close to me to this day. I met them there in that program. Now, I'm there. I'm in this program in the house. I'm living this experience, leaning into community, really figuring out what that looks like and what that means. And for the most part, I feel like I'm truly and genuinely leaning into what still to this day is a deep part of my purpose. I was working at the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club there. That was my service site assignment. And I was doing all of my arts work. I was also doing workshops. This is me at a conference. It's called Creating Change. It is a every year conference that is around LGBTQIA community and how do we create change from organizers across the country. I was presenting at workshops. I was glowing. I was living my best life, and I was really enjoying it. That is the program that I started called the Word 100 for the kids at the Boys and Girls Club. I was joining them. I have these photos that I have from there with permissions to share of some of the kids that were in my group. And I was really living my best life up until in February of that service year. So I was supposed to be at the service year until I went in August. I was supposed to be there until June of the following year, 2018. In February of that service year, that experience comes to a close. And I am now going to be pitched back home in what I'll share in limited detail now. But it's part of my story, but it's my brother's story to share. That in that season, in the end of February of 2018, my brother was harmed in a carjacking attempt here in Memphis at a car wash that is still 3 minutes down the street from my parents' house. And it is through that journey of his healing and his injuries that he experienced that I chose to come home. So this is one of the last sunsets that I caught in Massachusetts before I left. This is me standing in front of the house, in front of Lauren's house. And for all the grappling that it took to get to this point in the journey of being in that house, I love that place so much. I came to love the quiet of the stillness of hearing cars, being able to drive up from like all the way down the street. Those same folks that I grappled with, I came to love. And this is just a reflection and a capturing of that moment before I went home to be a part of supporting my family and our healing process to move through that experience, for my brother to be the walking miracle that he is today. And I'll share those pictures. This was me ending the program before I left. The kids did their first public open mic before I left. And this is them feeling all super hyped and excited from sharing on stage in front of people for the very first time. And then this is me once I got home and after my brother's process of healing, me celebrating him at graduation. This is my mom also celebrating him. As you can see, my brother is a fly guy. And this was a really exciting moment for us as a family. And so while I had so much gratitude and so much thanks for the way that he healed and that we moved through that moment, I can't help to feel like, to a degree, and in a way, I felt like I was going through a moment of exile. I feel like, and I felt like I had been living my purpose, living my best dream, having this best high moment of my life as I was moving toward wherever I was going to go next. And I will admit, I had to sit with God and I had to grapple because in that chapter 29 of Jeremiah, just like those who had been in exile from Jerusalem and into Babylon, I grappled with God and I questioned and I resented. I felt like I had been brought back to home that didn't feel like home. To friends here who didn't feel like I had that same relationship as friends, and to work that simply just did not feel as fulfilling. So just like those folks who were exiled from Jerusalem, I felt excluded. I questioned God. And I tried to flee for a moment again. I ran to New Orleans for a second, tried to do some teaching there, felt like I was going to get my life back on track. And God in reflection quickly brought me back to the ground and back to Memphis very shortly after in 2019, January of 2019, for me to just come to terms with myself that it was time to just be still and heal. It's beautiful to hear stillness already be such a part of you all's conversation. So it feels really aligned to be sharing on it in this way. that I came home to heal. Now, I'll offer here where this comes into the body. Some of you all may be familiar with this book. Some of you all may not. I personally have not yet received a copy of the book, and I'm excited to read it, but it has been a part of the conversation of so many mentors, guides, readers, writers, and thinkers in my life that I share with urgency here, that it is entitled The Body Keeps Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. It is by Bessel van der Kolk. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. And then I feel free to also drop this in the chat at some point before the close of service as well. And it is in leaning into what this book speaks on is the notion that we hold our pain in our bodies. Psychologically and therapeutically, they might call it big T trauma or little T trauma, acute life events such as the ones I experienced, or those broad life events of what you experience across the course of your whole life, that might have you holding things in your body, that as we move through, we might be wanting to keep going like life is normal, push past that thing that happened last week, ignore that way that conversation hurt our feelings or hurt our hearts, ignore the way that physical injury still lingers with us from however long ago. I think that our world, even mid-pandemic, is still driving us to move so fast and do so much that we might not be hearing what our body is saying. And so I offer this book and I offer this text, and the moment that it came to me in my life was after January 2019. I decided to be still and be here. I had a conversation with God and I said, okay, God, I acknowledge that I'm not done with this healing journey. I'm not over what happened. I haven't grappled where this means I'm at in my journey and what this means for where I should be going moving forward. So God, I will sit and I will be still. And then the questions came to me that ultimately, if I didn't feel like I was only here temporarily, what if I shifted? What if I released the notions of how I felt like my life is supposed to be on track and I just let my life speak to me? In Parker Palmer's book, he expresses that often we are living the life that other folks put the expectations upon us of what that should be, or even ourselves once we've taken them on to such an extent that we might not be letting the life that is unfolding without our even action, the life that God is putting before us without our conscious decision. What if we leaned into that life and started sitting back on what we want to do and let God tell us what is happening, what's meant to be happening next in our lives? And so I did. I stopped trying to figure out the next Indeed.com job. I stopped trying to figure out how to, get away. And I stopped trying to, think I was stuck in the friend groups I was in and maybe expanded that I could shift and I could find where I felt most fitting. And I started to wonder, what if I stopped looking at it like an exile and I started looking at it as the beginning of letting my life speak to me, as the beginning of letting my life and the path unfolding before me lead me to where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing. Now, that's not to say that I have goals or dreams or visions, but I feel like if anything 2020 taught us, it showed us that things do not always go according to plan. And that when it does not, it can often push us into a silence and stillness, maybe even uncomfortably so, that requires us to ask those questions about, okay, God, if this all has fallen apart, and okay, God, if my plans weren't happening as they should have been happening, what will I do now? And I'll offer to you now that what if, in the moment that, in the latter verses of that chapter in Jerusalem, God told the folks who were in exile, he said they should get still, and God said that they should bunker down, they should get comfortable, that it was going to be a while. God prompted them to make gardens and have children and build homes and build lives. And so rather than fight or grapple with that moment, to embrace it and to lean in. And so I'll offer that to you as I prepare to close this sermon and word to you today. I'll offer to you that in this kind of over, mostly not pandemic space that we're in this kind of space where normal is still kind of, in the ether, or still a little snagged and time is a little questionable. I will offer that perhaps this moment that we're in isn't a moment to fight or to perceive as exile, but what if it is a moment of light? What if it is a moment of hope? Or what is it, a moment of invitation to lean into these questions, to love these questions with other people, to figure out where your life is meant to be speaking to you and where your body feels like it's telling you to be speaking and moving? That what if where you are now is the cracking open, is the opening space to wherever you're supposed to go from here, if you leaned into where your body was telling you to go? God wanted them to know in that moment that God was still with them, but that they were going to be moving through this in a process that, as the Body Keeps Score speaks to, takes longer than our human nature might want us to think. And so I offer to really, really, really dig into the time that it takes to heal, both in the mind and in the body. And that as we still move through this season, I want you to leave with the note of holding gratitude to your body and thanks to your body. And then I think it was so beautiful what we were saying earlier about leaning into whatever parts, you may have feelings toward. This body has carried you through this pandemic thus far. It's carrying you through life every day. And there is a churning life that is under that surface of you that I offer you to lean into. In the book, at the beginning, Parker Palmer's book, he talks about the frozen river. But if the water is not all the way frozen, there's still water coursing underneath. And no matter how locked up or still or frozen your body or this moment in your life may be feeling, I offer that you consider yourself as that river still churning under, and that you consider where your life could be living through and where your life can start to speak out and then into the world. That is the word of God for the people of God.
Thank you, Lexus, for being with us this morning and for sharing. Friends, as you reflect on this word you've heard from Lexus, and as you reflect on her encouragement and her offering and her challenge, as you discern how you are letting your life speak, I invite you to carry those reflections into this, our time of offering.
To God and to the Lamb I will sing, I will sing. To God and to the Lamb I will sing. To God and to the Lamb who is the great I am. 1 million join the theme, I will sing, I will sing. 1 million join the theme, I will sing. My moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee, swift and beautiful for thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee, filled with messages from thee. Take my love, my Lord, myself and I will be ever only all for thee, ever only all for thee, ever only all for thee.
Benediction. Little by little, God, may we begin to let our lives speak, to tell us when and where they want to go. Not because we are relinquishing our power of choice, but because we know the power of what emerges in the stillness. May our stories become our beacons. May they come to cast light. May harm be healed and become the space for the authentic life, the voice within to move through and speak.